Choni and Phallus fans, you'll be happy with this episode, and once again, Nana Rose is the hero I always thought she would be. Let's break down Season 2, Episode 17 of Riverdale right here on What Happened. What's going on, all you Riverdale awesome fan people? Lisa here with this week's recap. So before I get to this week's episode though, if you missed Paley Fest from last weekend where the cast did a panel, I broke down some of the highlights in a video which is linked down in the description. In that video, I also give my review of and my first thoughts on the next episode of the show, which is the musical episode that we got to see, and that airs in about 3 weeks, I believe. There's 2 weeks off for the show, so if you're curious about what's going to happen in that episode, I don't give away super spoilers, but I hint at things, just go check that out. Now on to the antics of this week's episode. Hello, Choni. Yeah, we got ourselves a mini Prison Break movie, which I was very excited about, as we get Cheryl rescued from the Sisters of Quiet Mercy, and all of that was topped off with the long-awaited Cheryl and Toni kiss, which I felt like was done perfectly, like this nice little romance movie we were watching where the two kind of walk towards each other from opposite ends of the room. They don't jump in each other's arms, but they give a big hug. Then you have the classic camera circling their head shot, and they have a great first kiss, and it wasn't like a peck. It was like a damn good first kiss. This episode also saw Alice giving up her grudge against the South Side, and she goes and knocking on FP's trailer, which he has a smirk on his face when she does that, and I think that implies that some Phallus hooking up went down, even though we don't get to see it. And it's kind of like, come on Riverdale, is it weird that I would much rather watch FP and Alice hook up than another Archie and Veronica sex scene? Give us FP and Alice, guys. Now let's just break down this episode and then we'll get back to some of my thoughts on it. For our mini mob movie, 2 of Hiram's associates, aka mob friends that we met at the poker game, Lenny and Carl, are in town to visit because, you know what, they're not happy with Hermione running for mayor. Hiram's planning on having dinner with them to see if they can, patch things up, and he tells Archie to keep an eye on Veronica. Instead though, Archiekins doesn't want to leave his master and instead wants to go to the dinner with him, so Hiram lets his puppy dog go along with him. Now after an arm wrestling match with Reggie where they decide where the Bulldogs' votes will go for the school election, Archie ends up winning and he is very pumped up, and I'm guessing he feels like he may be invincible or something. It makes me wonder though, who in real life would win an arm wrestling match? Would it be KJ or Charles? Both are pretty ripped. I feel like it would be an even battle. Anyway, during Hiram's mob dinner, complete with that, kind of music that just makes you feel like you're maybe supposed to be in The Godfather or something, but like a really cheesy version of The Godfather, Lenny and Carl reveal that, Hiram's guys in Montreal and New York are now working for them, and basically Hiram has no one, and so they want 25% of the Riverdale pie. Now, like I said, Archie is basically like Hiram's lapdog, and you don't go threatening his master. So when Archie hears these threats, after feeling invincible from this arm wrestling match, he kind of just puffs out his chest and decides to step up to Lenny and Carl and basically try to rattle off things that make him look tough that he's done, like, take care of Nick St. Clair. And it's all just to kind of try to prove that they're not defenseless here in Riverdale. Well, Lenny and Carl kind of had the same reaction I did to this.
You nearly had us there, Red.
Look, I know that Archie has a good heart. He is kind of clueless on things, but I can't take him seriously with all of this, and it's good to know that I'm not the only one. Lenny and Carl then say that they're going to stick around Riverdale until Hiram makes a decision about the offer. Hiram then tells Archie that next time he fires warning shots like that, he's got to be able to back it up. Then Hiram calls Archie a good boy, which yes, just again confirms that Hiram pretty much just looks at Archie like he's his puppy dog that'll do whatever he says. And that makes me then think of puppies, and then I start thinking about KJ looking like a cute little puppy, and then KJ cuddling with puppies like he did in the movie A Dog's Purpose where I first saw him, and then that just gets confused. Yeah, I'm off track now. Let's get back to the show. Later, Archie overhears Fred talking to Jughead in the kitchen. It seems like Fred has enlisted Jughead to help him with his announcement address, which Archie is supposed to go to. Now, Archie doesn't seem too happy that his best friend is helping out his dad, since we know that these two are kind of at odds at the moment. Archie is then walking Veronica home and talking about how he doesn't even know how to talk to Fred anymore when they see a guy in a black hood with a hammer beating the crap out of Andre, and for a minute, Archie's like, is the Black Hood back in town? Archie follows that black hooded dude outside, they tussle, and it ends up being Adams. The guy who was like pretending to be fake Agent Adams, and it seems like he's turned on Hiram and gone over to Lenny and Carl's side. Adams tells Archie to tell Hiram to take the deal. Well, now it seems like the lodges are freaking out because most of their men have turned on them. Andre's in the hospital, and they basically have no protection or long-term plan. Hiram finally tells Archie he's planning on cutting in Lenny and Carl because he's not ready to put his family at risk. But it's like, seriously, Hiram, look at the business you're in. And your family's always been at risk, dude. Hiram plans to again meet the guys for dinner that night, but Archie has other plans. He ends up skipping Fred's announcement address, which Mary is totally pissed about, and later tells Archie before she leaves to go back home that, you know, she has no idea who he is anymore. Amen, Mary. Although I'm sad she's leaving town, I wish she would stick around a little longer. Instead, Archie enlists Reggie and promises him that all the Bulldogs' vote will go to him if he helps Archie. And, well, Hiram's a no-show at the dinner and instead leaves a message for Lenny and Carl to go outside, and when they walk outside, their car blows up. And then we see Archie, Reggie, and the Bulldogs with their own black hoods and masks, and they call themselves the Dark Circle. And I'm just kind of having nightmares back to all that ridiculous red circle stuff from earlier in the season, but at least this time the dudes kept their shirts on. We'll just have to wait and see though if it works out this time, but as a thank you, the Lodges give Archie this sweet car, and Archie says that he will be ready if their enemies come back. Speaking of enemies do come back for Chick, it seems. Everyone's freaking out when the authorities end up finding the car that Dwayne was driving that Betty and Jughead dumped in the swamp. Well, now FP, Alice, Betty, and Jughead are freaking out, and they're afraid that someone's gonna find out what's happened. FP just tells them to act normal and pretend like they know nothing if the authorities come around. Well, though, you know, Betty and Jughead, they're not going to do what FP says, and Jughead tells Betty that, you know, what acting normal for them is basically to go investigate things that they shouldn't. So they go ask Kevin about the car using the cover of, again, hey, we're not nosy, we're just writing an article about this. They end up learning that the car was given back to its owner, so now they have to figure out who this owner is. Also during this time, we have the Serpents not wanting to vote for Jughead because they're pissed at him that Betty's always hanging around, and they think that she's going to bail on them just like Alice did, and of course, they view Alice as enemy number one. Now Betty is determined to win the Serpents over and prove her loyalty, and that includes trying to get a serpent tattoo. Now, her first mistake here is actually trying to get Alice to sign the consent form instead of forging it. Not that you should forge your parents' signature, but you know, something like this, She already knew what Alice's answer would be, which is a firm no. But it's also probably a good idea that she did ask, because I don't think, you know, getting that tattoo would have changed anybody's mind, and I'm pretty sure Jughead would not have been happy with it. Betty and Jughead end up telling Alice, FP, and Chick what they've learned about the car, and of course FP and Alice are pissed that they went snooping. Chick says maybe it could be Darla, Dwayne's girlfriend, that owns the car. Alice also tells Betty she's coming home, but Betty stands firm that she won't come home unless Chick moves out. Chick agrees, but Alice wants Betty home ASAP, and I love that she kind of turns to FP to get him to back her up, which you would normally get your husband to back you up in a case like this, but instead she's looking at FP, and FP's just kind of like, I'm gonna sneak out of this scene right now. Betty goes home and Chick again proves to be useless, or instead more of a pain in the ass, or maybe dumb when he comes home with Darla of all people. Yeah, he tried to call Darla to find out what she knew. Darla then basically blackmails the Coopers into giving her $10,000 to keep her mouth shut, and she's not going anywhere till she gets the money. Alice sends Betty to the bank the next morning, and if I knew it was that easy for me to get money out of my parents' joint checking account, I would have drained that thing long ago. Alice ends up sneaking in a call to Betty to tell her to not come home because that guy from the hostel that she pepper sprayed has now shown up. Well, we all know that Betty doesn't like to listen, but also she comes up with a plan when she doesn't want to listen so that she has backup. She ends up returning home to give Darla the money, but now Darla and that meathead dude just don't want to leave. In fact, meathead guy pulls out a box cutter to try to threaten the family. And I kind of think Chick, Alice, and Betty could take the two of them, but it doesn't seem like they want to take that fight. Jughead and the Serpent show up with Jughead kicking down the door, which kind of made me laugh because I don't know if it's really believable, but also sort of made Jughead a bit hotter. And just like a choreographed dance move from like The Outsiders or West Side Story or something, they pull out their switchblades. And yeah, a box cutter is no match for 20 switchblades wielded by teenagers in leather jackets. I'm honestly surprised that Jughead was actually able to get the Serpents to come with him to help Alice and Betty of all people after what the Serpents said at the beginning of the episode about not liking them. Guess Jughead's pretty persuasive. The two Centerville bumpkins then leave, and Alice thanks Jughead, and she then tells Chick to leave immediately. Alice ends up making peace with the young Serpents in school and tells them she's done attacking them and disavowing the South Side, and she's now going to be proud of where she's from and fight for them. Also during this speech, we see a scene in which Alice goes knocking on FP's trailer door, and she enters, and FP has a smirk on his face, and all I want is more FP and Alice. More FP and Alice, please. Now for our Choni storyline. Cheryl is not having fun at Sisters of Quiet Mercy. The only thing to look forward to is movie nights where they play some really weird movies and it seems like Cheryl imagines like Moose and Kevin in them. Interesting, right? Sister Livingston then tries to give Cheryl all the causes for her so-called imbalance, but Cheryl's just like, no ma'am, you're wrong. What's affected my psyche is the abuse from my mother and father. But since she refuses to listen to the sisters, she's forced to do manual labor and then attend more of those weird movie nights. And on the outside though, Toni enlists Veronica and Josie to help her figure out what's up, so they pay a visit to Penelope and Nana Rose. Penelope finally tells them that they sent Cheryl away because of her disturbing behavior and they sent her abroad to a private wellness institute. Well, not quite the truth, but also not super far off. Penelope then says that Cheryl developed an unhealthy obsession with Josie and shows Josie one of the drawings and said there's many more. And now Josie's pretty freaked out thinking that Cheryl is the one who threatened her and sent her the pig's heart, and yeah, Josie's running as far away from Cheryl as possible. That leaves Toni and Veronica to figure out what's next. Well, when Nana Rose is left alone one day, she crawls her way to the phone and calls Toni at school and gives her a clue about where Cheryl is before evil Claudius rips the phone cord out of the wall. Nana Rose, I really hope you survived, but if you didn't, just know you went out like a hero. So now the clue that Toni and Veronica have to go on is the sisters. So they end up asking Kevin, who tells them about the Sisters of Quiet Mercy and their gay conversion therapy and how there's a tunnel that they can probably break into the place through. So the trio set out in the middle of the night, and I'm kind of upset that, Kevin didn't dress up in a black kind of cat suit like Toni and Veronica did. They end up busting into the place, and Toni eventually finds Cheryl during movie night, and they hug and have their first kiss. Veronica then runs in saying they gotta go because they're being cornered in by, frightening groups of nuns with flashlights. And you know what? That is a really scary image. Like, you don't think nuns would be intimidating, but these nuns are frightening. Thankfully, everyone gets out just in time and Cheryl is free. When they're back at school one morning, Cheryl says she's going after Claudius and Penelope, but first there's a more pressing matter. So what could this pressing matter be for Cheryl? It's starring in the school musical. Yeah, she basically goes to Kevin and says, cancel your auditions for the lead role of Carrie White in the musical.
I'm obviously Riverdale High's Carrie White. And this school's gonna burn.
I'm honestly dying at Kevin's face in the background. I really wish they would do more with Kevin. Like, they upped Casey Cott to a series regular, but they barely do anything with him. Same with Ashley Murray, who plays Josie. So hopefully they're planning some kind of big plot lines for them. If not this season, then next season. But with that, it wraps up the main events of this week's episode. I still can't really take Archie seriously, especially as a tough guy. Like, I can't believe that two mob guys with tons of scary dudes working for them would be scared off by just a blown up car and a group of teenagers. I'm also mad that Archie would get so mad at Reggie about saying something about Fred that wasn't even that harmful, but then you have Archie skipping out on Fred's announcement to go protect Hiram. Like, where is your loyalty at, Archie? Do you love your dad? You're gonna be on your dad's side, or are you still gonna go follow Hiram everywhere? I'm also loving more of the interaction between FP and Alice, and now that Alice has made her peace with the South Side, maybe we'll finally get to learn more about her past and why she even abandoned the South Side in the first place. And also loving that FP is now kind of the voice of reason here, telling Alice to make things right with Betty. And yeah, it's now I have a tough decision between Fred and FP for who my dad Riverdale crush is. When it comes to Chick, I'm just glad he's gone, but unfortunately, don't worry, he is back in the next episode. I still am not quite sure exactly what he's up to, but could he maybe be working with Darla? He can't be that stupid to go call Darla and not expect her to come up and, want something, right? Like, he brought her into the house. Did she have a weapon or something? Was she threatening him? Going to the police, how are they going to prove that, anything happened with the Coopers? I don't know. I just feel like that before Darla left, she did give, Chick some kind of nod. So if he's not working with them, then he's either just dumb or just really creepy and has some own plan of himself, like his own plan to do something. Well, all this ends up setting up for the musical episode, which will air in a few weeks on April 18th. So let's watch the promo.
This revenge fantasy? Never gonna happen.
Spoiled rich girl. Major daddy issues. What was that?
Don't try to get between me and my dad.
This is your last warning.
Welcome to Carrie the Musical.
Now, I've actually had a chance to see this episode at Paley Fest, and honestly, I think this worked as a musical episode, and it's one of my favorite episodes this whole season. There's a lot that goes on. There's never really a dull moment in there. There's some cheesy points, but you know what? I'm not really going to get full into that, so if you want to see my full review about that, you can check out my Paley Fest video. I give a few teasers about what you can expect, which may or may not include a death. But it's definitely worth the wait. I know we have to wait a little while. But because I've seen that episode, I can't really give you predictions for what I think is next since I know what's directly ahead. For now, though, hit me up in the comments below with your thoughts on this particular episode. What were your favorite moments? What do you think Chic is up to? Do y'all still think he's the Black Hood? Do you think Hal's the Black Hood? Who is this Black Hood? Because I will tell you the Black Hood is coming back into play. Now, whether it's the same Black Hood as the Black Hood we've seen, I don't know. I feel like there's 50 million Black Hoods running around this town. And for you Choni fans, what did you think about that kiss, and how do you want to see this relationship progress? Same with FP and Alice. Do you think they'll actually get together, or do you think someone may come into the picture and mess things up? And will Archie actually be able to protect Hiram? I don't know. Leave me all your thoughts and click right over here for that Paley Fest highlights video or my interview with the cast of Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, another upcoming show that I am very excited about. Be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you like what you see, because I love, talking and, ranting about Riverdale or whatever. And, yeah, then you can come back and watch whatever else I do. I really don't know what I'm saying anymore. I need to get out of here.